Hi, this is Jeff, and I'm going to talk about the AutoTP and specifically including a label number on labels in the output that corresponds with the printout that you can generate. So this is an example of a printout, just printed as a PDF file, and you can see that there's numbers associated with these parts. If I want to put that number on the labels so that then I can correlate the two when I put the labels on the parts on the nested sheet, then that's something that some of our users find handy, and so I'm just going to show you how to make sure that you can do that. If I open a particular file in EnRoute called AutoTP config, you can see that there's one parameter, include label position. I want to make sure that I put true in there. That's a parameter, kind of a behind the scenes parameter that I want to make sure is set to true so that the correct information comes in the AutoTP config file. So that file is located in the AutoTP folder in your EnRoute folder. So under EnRoute AutoTP, you'll find the AutoTP config. Set that parameter to true, and you should be good. Okay, so that's step one. Now, when I get in here and I'm ready to process a job, I've got a real simple job set up here that has a few parts that I'm going to process, and I've defined my layers. I've done all of that. I've told it I want to create label output. I've got a label design that I have defined, and in this case I'm going to tell it to put it in a subdirectory, so that makes it easier to find the file. And then I'm also going to create a printout of the parts. So let's process that job real quick. Here it's asking me, I told it that I wanted to print to a PDF printer for the printout, so I'm going to do that. And let's get into that. Under DNC files, under test, there's a folder, and I'm going to call it, I'll just call it sheet. I'll call it sheet 1. So now it's processed the job, and you can see this is what it looks like. If I bring up my PDF viewer, you can see that it's created that same, similar to what we looked at before. And this is kind of what the job looks like. So now let's look at the labels, and I sort of specifically left one of the parameters unset because this is kind of an area where you can sort of trip up, and then we're going to go through fixing that, and then you'll be able to see what we're talking about. So now I'm going to go into that same folder again, that output folder, and I'm going to look at these labels here. So here's my process job, and if I select all of them and tell it that I want to print them, I'll get a preview, and we're just going to look at the preview for the moment. I'll resize it. So if you look at these labels, you'll see that here it says label number. It's kind of hard to read, and then over here it says label number. So rather than having the label number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it just says label number, and so we want to understand why that's true and fix it so that it has a number there instead. So I'm going to get out of this label printer, and now I'm going to get back into EnRoute, and I'm going to bring up the label designer and bring up my label design. Okay, so here's my label design that has the text for label number and then this label number. And what we want to do is we want to edit this. So I'll double click on it and get into the attributes. Here it says text is is label number. That's fine. So the key here is to go into the data tab. So what I want to do is I want to tell it to use it as a placeholder, and here I want to select label number. Problem is you don't see it. You don't see label number. And so what I want to do there is add that to my list here. So I can come in and type in label and then no space and then number. And that's going to match the field in the label output file. And so I'm adding that to my list there. I click OK. Now it shows up. Now it shows up here as label number. So I choose that to make sure that that field is looking for data rather than just placing text there. Okay, so now if I save that, I've saved my label design. Now if I process my job again, so we're not really going to change anything. We're still going to create label output. I'm going to process the job. Here again it's asking me for where it should go for just the printout. Save that. Okay, so it processed the job. So now what we want to do is we want to look at those labels. So we'll bring up the label printer. We're going to open this label job that we just processed. And so now, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see that there are numbers there. So let's select all, print selected, and we'll resize that. Okay. So now you can see, now I've got numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those are the numbers then that correspond to those labels that are going to show up in the nested parts. And so that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for this 1, 2, 3 that then corresponds with the labels, the numbers, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that shows up here in the printout from the nested sheet. So that's adding label numbers. And if you go back here, the key step is to make sure that in the label designer, when I bring up that, when I bring up that design, that I make sure when I select that field in the data that I use it as a placeholder, and I select the right source, and I might have to create that and add it to the list for label number, so then that it shows up. So that's adding label numbers to labels in EnRoute.